And at the time I said that with a straight face because I'm like, I'm trying to identify, is this my dog or not? So I'm like, check to see if he has a speckled ball sack. And they came back and they said that that dog did not have a speckled ball sack. It was not Kramer. It was a solid color scrotum. So
a speckled scrotum. Welcome dog moms and dads to our show where we discuss the everyday joys and challenges of pet parenting. I'm your host, Jen.
And I'm Ashley.
And this is the Dog Mom Podcast presented by ZippyPaws. Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Today is a very exciting day because it's the first dog dad takeover.
With the ultimate dog dad, as we're about to find out.
So we have Nick Glaser, my husband, on the show.
Whoa, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to be here. It's always good energy when you're around dog people, especially when they're dog moms.
So like I say in the intro, our podcast, obviously we're two dog moms, but we want to talk about topics that relate to all dog parents, dog dads included. So
I'm told dog dads are people too.
That's true.
We've heard that, so we'll see if that's true on this episode. So Nick, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Without further ado, here I am. Like I said, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to talk to you. I'm a dog dad 2 times over. I have a golden doodle named Kramer. He's actually going to be 11 soon. Yeah, so he's been my only child his whole life. And then we came across Birdie, who we got together, and she's going to be a year. So I have dogs on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and Nick actually brought Kramer into our relationship. So, I obviously like guys with dogs. So that was one of the reasons why I was attracted to him and started talking to him in the beginning.
I was going to ask Nick, how do you think Kramer affected your chances with Jen? Do you think he was the reason you guys are here today?
Oh, 100%. I think Kramer is the only reason we had a shot at it.
I would say one of the many reasons, okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely sparked my interest too that Jen was very dog oriented. Because, dog people tend to get along with dog people.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like this is turning into a dating with dogs episode, so we might have to do another episode on that.
Yeah, maybe we'll create an app for that later.
It's hard. It's not easy.
It is hard, and you want to find people who fit into your lifestyle, right? You don't want to change for that person. You don't want that person to change for you. So obviously, I'm more drawn to people who share the same interests and hobbies as I do, and my dog is a huge part of my life, so I can't date somebody who has allergies to dogs or who doesn't like dogs, who don't treat dogs as part of their family. So yeah, that would be difficult.
I agree with all of that.
Right. But the topic today is actually we're going to be talking about a period in Kramer and Nick's life where Kramer went missing for 2 months. 2 months or so?
Yeah, it's just about 2 months. Yep. So learned a lot through that period of time. And Jen and I actually met not too long after Kramer and I were reunited. So that was definitely one of the first talking points her and I shared on one of our first dates.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. I think our first date was 5 hours long, and we spent probably 2 or 3 of those talking about Kramer and the whole process of him getting lost and how Kramer was found. I think we met 5 months after he came back, so it was still definitely very fresh in your mind. And then Nick's also going to give us some tips about how to look for your dog, how to increase your chances of your dog coming home, and for a happy reunion.
Yeah, because I feel like you don't often hear the positive stories where the dogs are found. It's so much more common to see the posts and the social blasts about a missing dog, and then they just kind of fade into obscurity. This is exciting for me because I think you have a lot to offer in terms of actually finding your dog, and it's proven to work.
Yeah, we were super fortunate, and thanks to a lot of things and a lot of people that helped me along the way, helped Kramer and I reunite. So happy to be able to kind of share a positive outcome and some things that I know were probably most effective for him and I in our journey with other people who might be going through the same sad times.
Yeah, and I did a little bit of research before our show, and the ASPCA published results in a 2012 study of over 1,000 pet households, and 15% of pet owners have actually lost a pet within the last 5 years, and 85% of those lost pets were actually recovered. So these are encouraging statistics, but as pet owners, we want to do as much as possible to increase those chances of finding your pet coming home. So we're going to share some tips later. All right, let's go into Kramer's story.
So Kramer's story, I was actually out of town. I was up in Seattle, and left my dog with somebody to watch while I was away. The day before I returned, I found out that Kramer had been missing, had been stolen. So that began a long process of trying to figure out exactly what do you do when you found yourself in the position of your dog being missing and you don't have a lot of details around what happened. Where do you go from there? It's pretty overwhelming. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and share with you things you can do to help better yourself and your odds of finding and reconnecting with your dog over the next several minutes.
Yeah, and we want to say that you left your Kramer with someone that you trusted too. It wasn't just a random acquaintance or anybody. It was someone that was close to you.
Correct. Yeah. So that can complicate things too, because you don't know exactly what to think at that point. So whether your dog runs away or you suspect foul play, it's still a pretty tough situation to find yourself in.
So how did you feel when you found Kramer was missing? Like, who told you, and how did you feel?
Well, the person that was watching Kramer had told me, and I felt just crushed and lost and in disbelief. I think probably overwhelmingly the main feeling was disbelief, right? It's hard to fathom that your dog is just gone. Like, where do you even start? Where do you begin looking?
Yeah, I can't really imagine going through that. It's just
100% my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
I think my former dog got out of our backyard for maybe 15 minutes and went through about 3 panic attacks in that point, and she showed up on our front doorstep, and I still remembered the amount of anxiety that I went through realizing she was gone.
Yeah. It's several years ago, my previous dog JJ, he got loose I had a slip lead on him when I was walking him, and he was running on a freeway on-ramp near our old house, and I was just so scared. Like, I just felt like my heart was pounding like out of my chest, and I still remember that kind of feeling. So I mean, I can't imagine what it feel like to hear the news of one of my dogs getting stolen. That's crazy to think about.
So the hardest part was to remain calm and think clearly and logically about what are the next things you do when you find yourself in the situation of your dog's gone. So the first thing I would recommend is that you, if your pet is microchipped, and all of your pets should be microchipped, by the way. If your pet is microchipped, immediately go on to the company whose your pet is chipped with and register them as a lost pet. Try to write down as many details as you can think of about the last time they were seen in location. And then from there, if it's correct time of day, I would file a police report if you feel there's foul play suspected. Next, you want to begin the process of creating a missing dog flyer. And important information to include on any missing dog flyer, obviously your dog's name, your contact info, any kind of physical characteristics you can think of that describe your pet. Try to include multiple photos of your pet. I would recommend at least 2. If you have a dog whose hairstyle can change, like Kramer, he looks like a totally different dog with long hair versus short hair versus medium hair. So I included a short hair and a long hair version of him. And then the reward. And when you're doing the layout of this poster, those are the main key points, right? Like reward needs to be big in print and lost dog, and then your contact information and photos. From there, you have to start looking at into services that will send out a blast and an alert. So there's a lot of them out there. I would do your homework and make sure you research and see which ones are more legitimate. But what they do is they will take your contact information, the dog's information, and they will send a mass email alert out to every vet, dog shelter, and any person that signed up to receive the alerts in the area. Next focus of attack, and I can't stress this enough, is the power of social media posts. Please reach out to anyone and everyone. Do a search about any local groups that facilitate lost and missing pets in your area. There's usually some groups like that almost everywhere you live. Reach out to them. Find powerful hashtags to use, especially on Instagram. Join Facebook groups that have lost animals, lost and found animals in X neighborhood, right? Lost pets, etc. Those are going to be your biggest ally when it comes to sharing this information and getting as many eyeballs on your situation as possible. So Instagram for me was huge. A couple of people came across a post of mine not too long after I finally broke the news to social media world, right? Once my brain finally got around to that portion, I shared some posts on Instagram, and some people picked it up and they reshared it with the right hashtags, and all of a sudden it blew up.
Social media is so powerful. It takes one share to reach that one super important person that can completely shift the momentum. And I think it's a very, very powerful tool to have.
Super powerful tool. I think there was one hashtag, one group, somebody shared it. It said hashtag we are IG family. And that is a group that really looks out for each other. And they shared it to their followers, right? Their network. And it just, it went viral pretty fast. You know, I was actually out in the process of following up on a possible sighting of Kramer. And, it ended up being a bust. It wasn't him. So I'm driving back to LA. I was pretty dejected. And all of a sudden I see my phone is just blowing up. It's lighting up. And it's all on Kramer's account. And it's just person after person following, commenting. And it wasn't until I got home and I looked, and all of a sudden I realized his message is starting to get out and go viral. And so I realized pretty quickly that social media was going to be one of my best allies in trying to spread awareness about my situation. So the next phase I went through then was who's available to help me in this situation? Who can I speak to that can also help get word out about Kramer being missing? I did go down and I filed a police report. Lost dogs are probably one of the lowest list of things on the priority list of local police department. In Kramer's case, his breed happened to be recognized as being a pretty valuable breed, even though I didn't pay much money for Kramer at all when he was a puppy. Some people do pay a lot for that breed, and so Kramer technically qualified as like a felony theft. So that led a little bit more credibility to my case, but not a lot. So I had to continue to explore other options at that point. And an acquaintance of mine, who was amazing, did a wonderful job in getting Kramer's message out to local media. Her name is Barbara Chetzler. Shout out. She did a wonderful job of creating a press release. And she helped me send that out to tons of local media outlets in Los Angeles. Another shout out, the KTLA 5 and NBC 4 in LA were some of the first ones to pick up my story, and did an interview with them to share what I was going through and the situation basically at hand. And so that started to get more people aware and involved in my cause.
So I think the moral of the story is to have a lot of different people who have a lot of different strengths help you with finding Kramer. Like this lady, Barbara, definitely has a lot of connections, and she had the ability to write press releases. Yes. So that was super helpful, because as one person, you can't do everything. Like, you can't be making posters, you can't be putting up posters, you can't be taking phone calls, right? Like, there's just so much involved with trying to get your dog, so you really need a team of people behind you.
Yeah, any help you can get, because it is so overwhelming, and you find out really quickly who in your circle of people is behind you and can help you. So I was very fortunate that my family was extremely supportive of me. And so while I was out, almost every second of my free time hanging up posters and flyers around town, and we'll get to the best course of action to doing that in a little bit. But while I was busy doing that, I had assigned some very trusted family members or friends to be the point of contact. So when you get overwhelmed with calls and tips and emails and texts and all of these things coming in that bombard you, you can rely on them to kind of fill in that void when you're not present, to be able to respond to them. Also, on that note, my mom and my sister and my stepdad were phenomenal, and they were constantly on the phone, calling veterinarians, calling dog groomers, calling just about anybody you can think of, animal shelters, right? Just constantly, every day. They had a big list printed out, and they would just go down the list and call each and every one of these locations, share my story about what had happened, and check in to see if they had any dogs matching Kramer's description come in for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's really smart, because if someone actually stole Kramer and wanted to bring him to the vet, or to get a grooming so he looks different, because when he was missing, he had long
hair when he went missing.
Yeah, so if they want to change Kramer's appearance and want to give him a cut, if the groomer already heard your story, then they would be more likely to keep an eye out for a dog of Kramer's description. Yeah. And then if they were to surrender the pet to an animal shelter, someone there might say, hey, that might be Kramer.
Yeah, my biggest fear, I think, I had a lot of them, but one of the biggest ones was that somebody would turn Kramer over to the shelter and I wouldn't know about it, right? And he would go through the quarantine process and then get picked up by someone else and released. And then that's a whole other battle you're going to have to fight.
Right. Because it's their dog now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are the laws regarding that? If someone adopts a dog from a shelter and you as a previous owner want that dog back, are they legally obligated to give that dog back to you?
I think it's sticky, and I think it's a stickier situation than you want to find yourself in. So did my best to get out in front of it before that was the case.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I believe if they're microchipped, though, at that point, you have a much stronger case to stand on.
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet that if another dog, if somebody else adopted a dog from a shelter that was lost or stolen, the likelihood of the person actually finding out is slim to none.
Yeah.
I feel like at that point, it's just kind of, it's horrible, but it's game over.
Exactly.
But I think to your point, having people check with the shelters and local vets every day is such a huge part of it, solely because you can reach out once and ask and say, hey, listen, I'm missing a dog, but they're so understaffed for the most part, and they have so many things to do that you can't necessarily rely on them to check every day. There are a lot of times that dogs are brought in that don't ever make it to a website. So really taking that hands-on approach and checking personally every day, I think is perfect.
That's exactly right. Especially even though if you signed up for that service and they send out a blast, you don't really know if they saw that or not, right? The vet or the dog salon or wherever. You're not sure if they saw that notification even. And also they have different staff working on different days at different times. And like you said, they have a lot going on and they're busy and they forget. And so even though in the state of California, at least, it's a law that if you bring your dog to the vet, especially if it's like, a new dog exam or something, they're supposed to scan it. They're supposed to scan for a microchip, but they don't always do that, unfortunately. And you might have a microchip that the vet doesn't necessarily have the right equipment to pick up on their scanner. So I guess that's a good segue into the next thing, which is a huge misconception. While Kramer was missing, I had a tremendous amount of comments on my posts about, oh, isn't your dog chipped, right? Why wouldn't you microchip your dog? And he was. I had him microchipped as a puppy. So he was microchipped his whole life. But a lot of people think that a microchip acts as a GPS, and it doesn't, unfortunately. We're just not quite there with technology. So to help people kind of understand that better, a GPS runs on a battery, and it's constantly sending out a ping, up to a satellite to track where it's at. And there's nothing like that you can really insert in a dog, right? Inside of a dog. It's definitely not the size of a microchip.
Right. They have those collars that you can buy.
You can buy a GPS collar, but the collar, I think, is usually one of the first things to come off of the dog once they're stolen, right? Maybe if they run away, that helps you locate them. So that's great technology for that. But in my situation, a microchip was merely a tool to let a veterinarian or whoever scanned the chip at the shelter know that this dog is in the database and this is his name and this is the owner's contact info. But it doesn't send a message out and say, here I am, I'm over here, come look for me in this neighborhood.
Right, someone has to proactively scan the microchip. And when you scan the microchip, would it say that Kramer was a missing dog?
It should come up. It should alert that the dog is missing.
It's good to know.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people online definitely have a lot to say when something like that happens. I don't want to say trolls or haters.
No, there are trolls, there are haters, there are people that mean well and come across brash. There are people that are upset and empathetic about the situation and frustrated, and the owner can take some of the brunt of that, I understand all of that, and it's a difficult thing to navigate through, especially when your emotions are a roller coaster and you're kind of dealing with some very heavy stuff. The really important thing is to keep focus on what your objective is, and that is to find your dog. Don't get sucked in, right? Don't get sucked into people trying to troll you. There are people that will contact you and say some pretty nasty things to you. You have to wash that out. You have to drown it out. You have to keep going. You have to stay positive as best you can, and keep your focus on finding your animal, your pet.
I think the goal is to just have a group of people around you that really care about you, really care about finding your dog, and having them help you throughout this cause, and also to help keep you sane. I would say. Yeah. It's
a really lonely thing. It's a really sad thing. It can be really hard to pick yourself up and keep going every day. I guess on that note, I can talk more about what is so hard about your day to day. I talked about earlier how it's important to print out flyers and print out a bunch of them, print out thousands of them. And I know that can be expensive, but it's important. And if you live in a multicultural area, I would recommend maybe doing them in different languages, depending on the area, just to maximize the amount of eyeballs on your poster. So with the costs associated with it, like I said, I would recommend setting up a GoFundMe or any kind of fundraiser you can to help people contribute, because the tape for putting these flyers up around telephone poles is expensive. Printing of flyers is expensive. To do the flyers correctly, I've had trial and error with many different methods. You don't want to just go out and staple your flyer to a telephone pole, because it'll probably be gone by the time you get back to your car. Whether it's the wind or the weather of some sort, or just some person that doesn't want your poster up on that telephone pole, it's coming down pretty soon. So I then moved from staples to tape. I would run a ream of tape around the top and a ream of tape around the bottom, and then that still left my posters exposed to the weather, the rain, people skateboarding by, and just rip them down. So the next method was I would put it inside of a protective plastic sleeve that you'd find in like a binder, and Trapper Keeper, going back to the old days of middle school, but put it into this plastic sheet, and then take that sheet and then tape it as best you can to around the top, around the bottom, to a secure structure. And the odds of that staying up a lot longer are better. But all those things cost money and time, lots of time. So the more people you can have help you cover a wider area, the better. And any kind of contributions from people to your GoFundMe, that's a great way to apply them towards finding your pet.
Like, what radius would you you recommend putting up flyers? Because, you're not putting up flyers like right around your block. You want to be outside your neighborhood as well.
I started right around my block, right? Right where I lived, right where Kramer was last known to be. Because I only had so much time and resources. I was all by myself. I didn't have help. So I could only cover as much ground as I could walk in the night. And so I just kept doing that. I kept walking wider and wider radius around my neighborhood. And then I got a couple of people start helping me hand out flyers in different areas and stuff. But then once social media started to go, and I had media outlets sharing my story, I had more eyes out there. And then calls would start to come in from people with possible sighting of Kramer. And I encouraged everyone to call. And mad respect for the people that work at carnival games who can guess someone's weight, because that is a not so obvious talent that a lot of people don't have. So I would get people calling me about a possible Kramer sighting for a dog that was like a very, very miniature size.
So you would say Kramer was like 55 pounds?
Yeah, Kramer was about 50 pounds at that time. And I would have people call me for a dog that was like 15 pounds. But I so appreciated it, right? You have to follow up on anything and everything. You just don't sleep at night. So I would, encourage people to send photos if could. If not, I would go to that area he was last seen. If it was a credible sighting and it seemed, plausible that it might have been him, I would then go to that area and start putting up flyers. So that's how my radius, that's what dictated where I went with my flyers then. Everywhere that I got a possible sighting, I would then send out a message on social media if I felt pretty strong that it could be him. Send out a message, and then I'll go to that area and I'll start putting up flyers everywhere I could, hand them out to everyone I could. That brings me to my next discovery. When I was in an area looking for Kramer, posting flyers, I parked at a meter, and my meter ran out. So once my tape ran out and I had to return to the car, I got there right as a parking enforcement official was writing me a ticket. And that is deflating. That's really frustrating. But I recognize that as an opportunity, because this person is out patrolling these neighborhoods all day long, every day. So that's somebody you should talk to.
That's genius.
Yeah, it hurt to,
Did he still give you the ticket?
I still got the ticket. They were very empathetic to my cause, but they still had hit send already, so it was in the record. But I handed a flyer to them, a few flyers actually, so they could share with their coworkers, and said, please, while you're out on patrol, keep an eye out in this neighborhood for me. And so then I started doing that with every person I could think of that's out in the neighborhood all day. Postmen, policemen, parking officials are definitely one.
Officials, we'll call them that.
Yeah, it's respectful.
Enforcers.
Possible. Yes, enforcement. And then things you don't necessarily think of, Ubers, right? Anytime I was in an Uber or Lyft or on my way somewhere, I would also share a flyer with those drivers and ask them if they would mind just kind of keeping it up for me in the back seat. The idea being that you just want to spread as much awareness as you can and make it incredibly difficult for your dog to not be seen, whether it's out roaming around on its own or with somebody. You just want people to kind of have in the back of their mind, hey, is that the dog that...
Right, like somebody, I heard someone lost a golden doodle. That might be it.
It's branding 101. Get your message out in front of as many people as you can.
It just takes one person.
Well, it's good information. I didn't know all this.
Yeah, so it's branding 101, right? You want to get your message in front of people as many times as you can, because, like you said, Ashley, it only takes one person to see your dog and completely change the situation.
So I have a question.
Yes.
2 months is in itself a really long amount of time. Add on to the fact that you're looking for your dog, and it's got to just seem like forever. At what point, or did you come across a point where you started to lose hope? And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer with this, but I feel like there are probably a lot of people out there that are looking for their dog, and they're just kind of reaching that point where they start to give up. And I think that you're a perfect example of why you shouldn't give up. But was there ever a point where you started losing hope, or were you just bound and determined to bring him home?
I had lost hope really early on, like probably within a couple of days. Once the reality of it sink in, that this was in fact my situation, and it's not just like a horrible prank or something that somebody's pulling on me and Kramer's coming home, like, it's just so overwhelming, it's a really big world when you're looking for something. So that in itself, I'm always kind of like a very logical, realistic person. And I looked at the odds against me, not without knowing any statistics, but I just kind of recognized the odds. And I had started trying to come to terms with the fact that I wouldn't ever see him again. But that didn't by any means signal that I wasn't going to try to find him. I owed it to him. I owed it to Kramer, who trusted his whole life to me to take care of him and look out for him, that I would spend the rest of the foreseeable future, as many years as he would scientifically be able to live on this earth, I would spend looking for him. And I knew the odds of me finding him only went down the longer time went on. So I had to do everything I could think of in the beginning while the odds were in our favor. So to answer your question, I lost hope pretty early, but I didn't give up on him. So I think there's two big differences. And there's days where I would wake up and it was really, really hard to get back into. It was like Groundhog's Day all over again. It's every day, same thing, trying to manage your job and follow up on social media posts, sort through the credible information, go out and hang up flyers, and just continue to be let down all of the time. It was really hard, but I owed it to him. I made him a promise that I wouldn't stop looking for him for like 7 or 8 years or something. I think he was like 7 years old when he went missing. So, I was going to spend the rest of his life looking for him. So I didn't give up. But that led me to some pretty dark places sometimes. And I found that it's also very important to take care of your mental health when you're going through something like that. To relax, to breathe, to meditate, whatever you have to do. Try to do all of your healthy vices. The first time that I actually ever went and tried yoga was when I was going through all of this with Kramer. I was not in a good place mentally. It was a lot to deal with. And I had to find a healthy outlet. And so I went and I took a hot yoga class. And I'm glad I did the hot yoga class because everyone's in there is red-faced, red-eyed, and sweating. And I was bawling uncontrollably towards the end because there's so many emotions and feels that you go through, right?
It's cathartic for sure.
Super cathartic. And I was able to have like a kind of a spiritual mental connection with Kramer and in myself, and kind of process what we were going through, and it helped me center, and I dealt with the situation a lot better moving forward after that. So that's another piece of advice I would offer to anybody going through this is you have to take care of yourself too. You have to take care of your mental well-being while you're going through this situation, because you're most effective that way.
You answered my follow-up question before I could even ask it.
He answered just all of your questions.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, obviously you said you gave up hope pretty early on. Looking back, what would you tell someone in your position, knowing that you did find him? And I feel like you summed it up pretty nicely. You know, you have to be realistic, but maintain hope and work on your mental health and make sure that you're taking care of yourself at the same time. I think those are all really key points that you hit.
Yeah, definitely. I think just kind of keeping everything as black and white as you can. Emotions are like super strong, and it can cloud your judgment, and it can kind of just distract you from the things you need to do to put yourself in the best position to find your animal, your pet, your loved one, your family member, right? It was really easy, I found at times, to lose complete faith in humanity and humans and people, because just, some dark sides of people can come out, and when you're already in a dark place, that hurts a lot. But I was overwhelmed and so grateful and lucky that so many good people came into my world and came into my life to help me at that time, whether it was just some words of support and encouragement, or actually, sharing our message, meeting up with me to help me search in different areas. I had one amazing woman that actually never even met me a day in my life, saw my story, and wanted to help. And she went out and bought like these big tarps that you would get at a home repair, like Home Depot or something, and some bright colored tape, and printed out Kramer's pictures. And in this tape, like, put text about my situation. I hung it at like overpasses on the freeways and freeway exits. So Sydney Pearson Glenn, thank you. She was a huge help too, right? And then she came into my life and helped me, and so many other people did. That just kept me going and kept my clarity, my sense of calm about the situation. And so you have to just slow down and focus and think objectively what you have to do next and next and next.
Yeah, and you also, during this whole thing, you actually moved to Seattle too.
I did. Yeah, that was another difficult thing to overcome, is the reason I was out of town. The reason I left LA was I was up in Seattle for a job interview, and that job interview went well. I got offered the job, and I took it. But that also meant, when I returned from that interview, that I had a timeline. I had a timeline of when I was going to be leaving LA. And so I returned to LA to find my dog missing, a dog that I had grown up with in Wisconsin. I moved from Wisconsin to California with. And now I was looking forward to the next stage of our life, is moving from California to Washington. And now I had to find him. He was missing. And it got to a point where I had 2 weeks, then I had a week, and then I had a few days, right? And the clock was ticking for the time that I had to leave to start my new job up there. But I couldn't tell anybody that, really, because I didn't want anyone to think that once that day came, then I had to move to Seattle, that I had given up on Kramer. So I kept that to myself, but that was another stressful thing. Every day I have this ticking clock in the back of my mind.
That's crazy, because a lot of us have these, life moments where we either move across the country or get an exciting new job, or something devastating like losing a pet, and you had to do that all at once.
I had to manage all of that at once. And unfortunately, I was unable to find Kramer in time to move up there. So I then started the new job, moved to a new city, and I'm starting a new job, and I'm doing all this without my pet, and my mind is elsewhere. But I have to kind of, you have to take care of yourself too, right, in your situation. So during the week, adjusting to trainings for my new job and settling into a new city, and I'm trying to follow up on social media with sightings and tell people that I trust to go look for Kramer and when sightings would happen. And then every single weekend, I'm on the flight down to LA, and I would spend all day and night every weekend looking for Kramer, putting up flyers, following up on tips. And then Sunday night, Sunday at 11 p.m., I would back at LAX, flying up to Seattle to start work like right away, 7 a.m. Monday morning, and that went on for weeks.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have given up, by that time, but it's crazy that you just kept going.
I had to keep going, for him, and it got harder and harder, I would say, harder and harder to have Kramer, without being seen by somebody, because more people were aware of what was going on, and social media was huge. And I would get more and more sightings, more and more credible sightings with photos and really strong descriptions and stuff. So that made it easier, because then I was more targeted in my search.
I felt kind of bad for the other Golden Doodle owners during that time. I'm sure a lot of people went up to them.
Yeah.
Where did you get that dog?
Yeah, that was another thing. I had to you have to talk other people off the ledge too sometimes, right? Because they're really passionate, they want to help you. But you have to understand that too, that by just being another person with a very similar looking dog, so you can't be confrontational, So what I would recommend to people to do, it is a really hard thing. For some people, it's a really hard thing to confront somebody. Even people I knew that knew Kramer, they would have a hard time sometimes confronting somebody with a dog that looks similar. And I get it. That's a tough thing to do. And they would always say after, I'm so sorry. I wish I had said something or tried something. But when you're in the moment, it's a different situation. I totally understand. So I would recommend to the people, if you see a dog that looks similar to a dog that's missing, is to first take a photo if you can. Take a few photos. And then approach that person nicely, calmly, and start asking questions. Oh, it's a beautiful dog. What's your dog's name? When did you get that dog? Right? Just normal questions that you would ask somebody. And judge their response to you. If it feels fishy, it might be fishy, But there's short of just ripping the leash out of that person's hand and running away with the dog, and then you have a dog that may or may not be the lost dog. There's not much you can do. There's not much you can do. So you just try to, hopefully you've taken a photo of the lost flyer or something so that you have that information readily available. If you see a dog that looks like it, you can just reach out, So that's an approach I recommend for people. Don't just assume if it looks the same that person is the one that stole your dog, because there's probably many kind people with a good-looking golden doodle accosted down the streets.
Yeah, I feel like that's more tactful than my approach would be. I would just holler the dog's name out and see if he came.
I mean, that's an approach too. But some dogs are so aloof that they don't even respond to their own name, and then other dogs respond to everybody's name. So
I feel like Kramer wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because Kramer, when you're on a walk with him and you call his name, it doesn't matter who you are. It can be you or it can be me. It can be anybody, but he does not look.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look. He just is so engrossed.
He doesn't look.
Yeah, he's so engrossed in his walk.
But it's not a bad thing to try, right? Yeah. Just don't base your whole conclusion.
But I still understand that some people don't want to. It's a little embarrassing to be calling out. Some people are non-confrontational.
I understand.
I would feel uncomfortable to do that. But if I was to approach it like any other dog I would see on the street, I think that would make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And, any normal dog owner would be, oh, his or her name is so-and-so, and he or she is this 2 years old or something.
Yeah.
But if someone was nervous or they stole that dog, they would be definitely... showing some signs.
And that happens sometimes. There were some people that, it was definitely their dog, right? It looked just like Kramer in a photo, for sure. I wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Couldn't tell them apart. Subsequently, later on, I found out that that was definitely their dog. After Kramer was home and in my arms, I knew for a fact that was not him.
Oops.
And my apologies to those people. I had some really passionate people in my corner, but. That's my advice, is to approach everybody with respect and friendly. And in some cases, once you kind of ascertain from the situation that, that's their dog, you can then share with them that my friend has a dog, looks just like that dog, and is missing. And those people are going to be more than empathetic to your cause because they can imagine their dog being missing. I approached many dog owners on the street and told them my situation, and they're a big advocate for you. I've also done many bootleg stakeouts in front of locations that a dog was sighted that looked like Kramer, and I'm sat out in front of their door for hours just to find out that was a very similar looking dog.
I can just see you like crouched in some bushes with some binoculars, and you're just looking for someone's golden doodle to come out of the house.
Yeah, that definitely happened.
A little peeping Tom.
Yeah. Just posted up in my car like a old detective,
Right,
Yeah.
on a stakeout.
Sipping the coffee, just waiting for like the next poop or pee break for that dog.
All right, so we've heard all of your tips and tricks and a beyond compelling story, but I'm betting based on the dog breathing sounds in the background that we have a happy ending to this story. And I feel like that's what I'm waiting to hear. And that's got to be what everybody up to this point is waiting to hear. So I want to know how you found him.
Yes. So Kramer is right here as I speak, licking my hand. And that's a positive outcome. We were very fortunate. So happy and lucky that through literally months of searching and refining the process of how to search for a missing dog, the sightings were increasing, becoming more credible. And at one point, someone had brought Kramer into the South Central Animal Shelter. Shout out to them. They were good with Kramer too. They brought him to the South Central Animal Shelter. They said their story is that they found Kramer running across the campus of USC without a collar on or anything. But scooped him up and brought him to the shelter, and they scanned him, and his chip came back that he is a missing pet. And so I'm up in Seattle still. It was a work week, and I had to get permission to leave. Hopped on the first flight I could down to LA. In the meantime, while I'm trying to logistically sort everything out, I had called Sydney and Lisa Sanchez. She was another huge supporter and helped me look for Kramer in different neighborhoods. They actually went down to the shelter for me in the meantime just to spend time with him to make sure that he was okay. So Lisa hung out with him pretty much all day long and kept sending me pictures and videos of him at the shelter. I gave the shelter permission to release Kramer to Sydney for me so that when I got down there, I could meet up with him because I wasn't going to get down there in time for the shelter to still be open. So I went through the process of getting released for Kramer in Sydney, went to pick him up, and I landed at LA, and I went right to her condo, right to her place, and was reunited with Kramer. And it was a tearjerker. It was a lot of feels, and yeah, we've been glued to each other's hips since then. But I was really lucky, and he actually looked more like one of his photos in the missing dog flyer. In the meantime, while he was missing, someone had given him a haircut, so he was professionally groomed while he was missing. So long hair Kramer became short hair Kramer in the 2 months that he was missing. So yeah, it was a good thing that I did
So it's also attesting to the fact that a lot of places don't actually scan microchips like they're supposed to.
Yep. Yeah, so that was our feel good story, and that was almost 4 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, roaming the campus of USC, maybe he was just looking for Jen.
I mean, yeah, that was my alma mater, so I think we had some connection there. So I don't know, but this was some heavy material to talk about on our first date, right?
Yes. It got deep.
We definitely went into the thick of things.
Yeah.
Almost.
So fast forward, it's been about 4 years now that we are reunited, and there's not a week that goes by that some degree or another that I don't think of that situation. But it gives you a whole new appreciation for time with your dog. And we treat every day like it's a gift, and it's been amazing.
So now that I have goosebumps and am happy and wondering where my dog is at this exact moment, I'm going through all of these emotions. Do you have any final tips to lead us out in the event that your dog is lost or you're trying to help a friend find a dog?
Yeah, I think just quick recap in a nutshell, the best tips I can recommend to you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Your goal is to reach as many people in as many neighborhoods as possible. Social media is your biggest ally. Please utilize it. When you create your flyer, make sure that you have a downloadable version available for people that can easily print and share it, so they can print it out and bring it to places and hang it up. Make sure that all of your public posts, all your posts on social media are public so that other people can share them. And then again, make sure that you have multilingual posters available or media posts to share if you live in a culturally diverse neighborhood. And a big precaution is like definitely have your dog microchipped. And in Kramer's case, I actually had him microchipped again after I got him back, just because I wanted to cover both bases. I wanted to make sure that the microchip that I had in him was still going to be strong and functional, and that, if that particular chip company, it was Home Again. Home Again is like what chip company I use, but I used another one that isn't always, Home Again isn't always picked up on all their scanners, so I used the most common one. I got him chipped again, and then make sure to note any distinguishable features about your pet. Look at their toenail colors, the shade of their nose, anything you can identify their pet to be unique is helpful when your dog is in a shelter and they ask you, can you identify anything on your dog that's unique?
Okay, this is a really funny story, but you have to tell everyone the distinguishing feature that you told the shelter to look for. So the shelter called you.
Well, this actually wasn't even the shelter. It was another shelter that a dog had been turned over to. It was out of state, so it wasn't a shelter I could just drive to and check it out. But they sent me some photos, and I just couldn't tell. It was, again, such a doppelganger to Kramer. It looked just like him. But I couldn't tell if that was him or not. Verifiably enough to book a flight to go to the shelter or not. And they kept trying to scan, and they said, no chip is coming up. And that's a very sinking feeling, right? Because you're wondering, well, maybe it's just not picking his chip up, right? Either the dog's not chipped or it's just not picking it up. So we got to the old school way of doing it, and that is to tell me any kind of unique identifiers, any kind of distinguishing features about your dog that we can go look for. And I remembered Kramer has brown toenails, and they went and looked and yep, that dog has brown toenails. It's okay. His nose is kind of a couple different shades of brown. It's lightest on the end and it gets darker as it goes back. Yep, that's that dog too. Kramer has brown eyes. Yep, that dog has brown eyes. I'm it's heating up. I'm oh, we might have a match here. Mm-hmm. At the time, Kramer was not neutered. He was intact, as they like to say it. And I, for the life of me, could not think of any other identifiers about him. His coat, I would describe it, the texture of his coat, everything. There was nothing else I could think of that is unique enough to him that would disqualify him or qualify him as being this dog, except for one feature, that Kramer's scrotum had some freckles. And I was not so eloquent as to say that it had some freckles on his scrotum, but the only thing I could think to say was that he has a speckled ball sack. And at the time I said that with a straight face because I'm I'm trying to identify, is this my dog or not? So I'm he has check to see if he has a speckled ball sack. And they came back and they said that dog did not have a speckled ball sack. It was not Kramer. It was a solid color scrotum. So
a speckled scrotum.
That was like grasping at straws. That was the last thing I had, but it was ended up helping me determine if that was him or not. So my advice to you is like try to find any kind of unique feature about your dog that can help you identify.
Right. Any patch of, fur or just some distinguishing feature.
Being chipped, anything. Some people go as far, and I'm not condoning this or not. I'm not one way or another, but some people go as far as to like have a little microscopic tattoo put in the inside of one of their ears, just a little dot on one side or the other, to help them in this worst case scenario. You can just flip the ear over and see, oh, there's a dot.
Right.
But yeah, anything you can think of.
I'm struggling to refrain from making a lot of inappropriate comments that I have in my head. So just appreciate them without hearing them.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Do we have any more?
But I think, yeah, do we have any more tips and tricks, or should we end this with speckled ball sack?
Let's end it with speckled ball sack.
All right. Well, thank you again both so much for having me on. I hope to be a recurring guest down the road. But you two dog moms are wonderful, and thanks for helping me get my message out to anyone that finds himself in a troubling situation like that.
Well, thank you so much for all of your insight. I learned a lot. I knew the story, and I still feel like I left this learning so much. So we appreciate you hopping on here.
Yeah, and I've heard this story so many times, and I've told it to varying degrees to, friends and family, but it just makes me tear up every time I hear it. I can think of, every day going out and printing flyers and in that adrenaline mode, and I can see myself doing that, right? But I can't really see myself going to bed in an empty bed. Right. And then, or waking up without my dog next to me, because I just don't know what I would have done. I don't know if I would have had the strength to do what you did.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations that you'd be surprised what you're able to conquer and overcome and achieve when you're put in that situation. Hopefully you never find yourself there. But if you do, believe in yourself and believe in your dog. And on behalf of Kramer and I, if you want to go ahead and boop that follow button, you can follow Dog Mom Podcast on Instagram and Facebook at Dog Mom Podcast, and our website at www.zippypaws.com/Dog Mom Podcast.
Did he just steal your job, Ashley?
He can have it.